Hi, ladies and gentlemen, this is Eddie Marcus again. I'm only here because I have to be. The message is for you, as spokesman and advocate of basic human rights, to be here in this line of movement, to share with those that come through a portion of information required that is missing in the life that they are living. And the hope is that they could and will receive the message and begin to live. Man, it seems like when I get ready to talk to you, something wants me to reflect on God, and something wants me to reflect on Constitution and stuff like that. And the the complication comes is when I'm thinking, when I'm using myself, thinking, how can I reach you? Being a human being like you, being exposed to a lot of things like you, that I'm trying to evaluate what would be most effective, rather than just being honest and telling you what the Spirit is telling me. I think it's better that I'm honest with you and tell you what the Spirit is telling me. We who are human beings living on this earth do not know the truth. And we are living according to someone else's truth. And their truth is not sufficient enough to meet the needs of you, the people. So they just meet the needs of some, and they use and abuse the rest. Here in America, we have a group of people, and then we have what we call a melting pot of people. And in this pot, we got people of what you call various nationalities, various shades, and whatever you can imagine based upon what you've seen and imagine what you haven't seen, all in that pot. That pot represents all of the human beings on the face of the earth. They are here, each of them, all over the earth, are here by the same power. And each of them in that pot, different as they are here by that same power. And that same power designed it in such a way that those who are all over the world could experience life, could experience living to the degree it's like heaven. And at the same time, that same power utilizing the same basic principles that worked on the outside to work on the inside. Basic principles to maintain and experience that same harmony, that same heavenliness. Why can that happen? Because that's a power that is expressive to those who in their pay grade. And I'm not. And I'm sure most of us not, because we don't experience that. But there is a message nonetheless. Now, when I come, I don't come bragging. And if I brag for the glory of the power that I represent. You see, growing up listening to stories about God, they're very interesting. I've read and listened to stories about Superman and Batman, all of that. They all good. Black Panther, ooh, sure enough good. But at least by now I've learned to know that those movies, the thing of it is, when the other came along, there weren't movies. I had words, whether I read them or they were read to me or taught to me, or they were words passed along. And what happened is that it becomes different, really, to a certain degree, than the movies or those comic books. It's different. Why? Because they pass, they keep on going. But this one stays here. It's constant, constant. And so after a while, it's passed all over the earth. And so you find yourselves adapting this, adopting, and it represents what it represents. But the reality of it should be, if you learn anything, is that is this what it actually represents? And if this is what it actually represents, are you satisfied with it? And if you are not satisfied with it, then what do you do about it? So what I'm basically saying is that if on the outside we have all of this turmoil, if in the melting pot we have all this turmoil, and each people really want, because they were designed in such a way to experience that living, that life, that heavenliness, but without anybody telling them anything about what that truly is about. I'm not talking about using exploitation. I'm talking about telling them what it's truly about. And if you don't, how do they know? And if all they have is what they read and what they talk, what people talk to them, like they were teaching me, if this is all you got, and then you're living, you might have acted a certain way if that was all you had to guide you. But in a day like today, when you got the total opposites that they don't call a lie, they call it an alternative truth. All of that confusing, and no wonder the devil can ride up on you. No wonder the devil wants to get a spaceship or what they call Air Force One made out of stone gold and just beautiful. I heard somebody talking about it today on the TV. And then as they were talking about it, I couldn't imagine anyone wanting to ride in anything like that or have anything to do with that except Satan. I couldn't imagine a human being, especially when they talking about this guy or this representative based upon what he's done. I can easily imagine that there could be a day when Air Force One representing the people, the normalcy of it, and there's a fight going on between the golden Air Force One against the normal Air Force One. I mean, why open yourself up to a position? Well, you can't. The only way you do it because you don't know any better. But the thing that I come here to say, ladies and gentlemen, I come here because that power that formed the earth and all these things we always talk about, I've had some direct dealing with that power, and that power is real. I've had some direct dealing with that power, and that power is real. Now, we don't really understand life. We go through some stuff, we live and we die, and we want to go to heaven, we say, or don't want to go to hell or whatever. We just want to have a good time, really, but it's very difficult to have a good time living in hell. But anyway, when I come to you, this power wants you to know another story. And the story that I tell you is just my story. My story won't get you to the place that you want to go. It's my story. You got to create your own story. Now you can utilize whatever you want to utilize. You can utilize my story, you can utilize this story, that story. But you, my friend, have to create your own story, and your story must be guided by the truth. We are afraid because we know evil. In America, the politicians, Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans, according to the Democrats, and according to me, is from the pure hell. What I mean by that, what they are doing, the way they're acting, the programs that they implement, the concern that they have, what they do. Like the other day, some guy, Republican, came to Minnesota, went killing legislators. I mean, that's Satan. But did you think, or the devil, did you think anybody really spoke up? You think, can I be specific? You think Trump said anything nice about that? Sad about that? Anything? Well, can't. It's not a part of his makeup as far as he knows. But having experienced the power, I know that this can change. I know that this must change if you want to live during these times. Somebody say that when you die, you go to heaven if you've been good. I don't know anything about that. I've heard stuff. All I know is what I have experienced and what you can, what you say, have receipts for what you've experienced. Now, your imagination, I can be excited about it. I can laugh. I can do all kinds of things. But that's that, an imagination. And it's yours. But if it causes a manifestation of something, then it starts changing. So what I'm saying is, this life that we're living is our own creation. You've heard me say that now. I'm not trying to slip anything on you. And if we want it to change, we got to change. We got to have that heart that allows us to receive based upon perhaps that which we're using that as guidance, but receiving from the Spirit ourselves because now we're serious. And the Spirit knows that. And the Spirit is guiding us, and we are being led by the Spirit, creating our own stories. When we put our own story together, now it's a party. It's a party now. You're not talking my story and I'm ego tripping. I'm talking your story, you ego tripping. No, we ego tripping on one another's story. We having fun, living. So when you see the Republicans doing, I was going to mention that, but I don't even want to go into that stuff. We know what it was all about. We know what happened. And it is messed up. And everybody, my friend, is guilty. And God has no favor for any one of us above another. Because why? The pain and suffering exists. The things that evil is programmed to come at the people is ridiculous, but it's happening. And it appears no one has enough authority to do the right thing that will cause the right outcome. Nobody. And so we can say we doing good, God help God. Look at the big picture. You would reach if you had the power and you're just watching this, would you reach down in the middle of this and pick out some people, what they call rapture some people and say these were good people? Good for what? They lived and ate and whatever else people do, as they call themselves living, struggled, maybe had some fun too, and died. Or if they didn't die, they still living, but they saw some pain and suffering that they wanted to address. And you know what kind of pain and suffering do they do? Well, they do some good stuff. Some they used to be just giving out sandwiches or have a soup line to pass out some old clothes. But I hear that there's some hospitals around. When your kids got cancer and stuff like this, you can send your kids to that hospital and you don't get a bill, not 1 cent. And you can't beat that. That's all the way God. That's all the way God, but that ain't good enough. That's just for the kids. It gotta be for everybody. Yeah, God requires everybody. God doesn't love the kids more than he loves you with your old self. No, God loves you just the same. That means if that kid needs that kind of care, that kid must have it. If you need that kind of care, you must have it. And it is the responsibility of those who are representative of God to assure that that kind of stuff happens. We don't spend time focusing on somebody talking about, I'm taking away all your rights. Are you out of your mind? You got to be out of your mind. We live and walk according to the rights of God, and our rights fit. The rights of God fits in anywhere where rights are. And when we're in a situation, if some things change and some rights start getting messed up, yeah, rights are wrong. Ain't nobody finna turn around and start following rights. I don't care. You want to be a racist and you create a system that promotes racism, and you want the slaves to walk around and follow that, and then they was okay with it, they didn't know any better, but then they learned better, and now you turn around and redo it and think they gonna let you do it. They're not even with God. You know some of the stuff. Thank you for the laugh. That was good. I needed that. But why I'm telling you this, ladies and gentlemen, is because it's about you. It's about you. Republicans, they say we do these things and it's we Republicans. And you can justify by that, say sticking to our team, supporting our team. If your team is wrong, so are you. If your team is right, then you're on the on the right side. You're on the right team. And that goes for everybody. But what if your team is wrong? Republicans, Democrats, and people of the world, and those of you who say you have a relationship with God. Now, I started talking and things got nice. And I'm talking, if I continue the way I'm going, I'm going to talk a little bit too long and bore you. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up, and maybe sometime later on, I could pick it up and add it to another post. But this is what I want to say. I'm going to tell you the things that I've learned and what have been shown to me. That I'll tell you, stake my life on. But when you start talking about soul and heaven beyond this world and angels and all that stuff beyond this world, I can only respond based upon what I have read, heard, or seen in some movie or stuff. But I can I could have created from that a belief. I could share my belief with you, but that's just, I wouldn't ask you to follow my belief for anything. You got to know for yourself. You got to know for yourself. Going to heaven, my belief is this. The only people, human beings like you and I, that are entitled to the heaven outside of this earth, but on heaven beyond whatever we can make this heaven to be, would be one who gave their lives for that. What does that mean? That means that one saw so much beauty in life, so much wonderfulness in the principles that have been reflected through him or her, that would have caused that, if implemented, that kind of heaven here. And they would not let any other conversation take away from that. Nothing. And they stood because they knew that anybody that suffered was lacking heaven. And as long as suffering exists, they had something to do. So all of a sudden, regardless of what your ambition for the world was when you first got here, when you first did all your dreaming, when you first went to high school and you went to college and dreaming about what you're going to do, all that stuff, and you getting in it and you got out of college and life seemed to be doing good, and all of a sudden the truth hits you. Yeah, baby. The truth hits you. Everything you pursued that you went out after in life doesn't mean a thing to you. Not as long as other people are suffering. And there's something that you can do about it. The only time that meant something to you, that's what we call the worldly stuff, God stuff, but it's when we didn't care about anybody but ourselves. Basically ourselves. We were just trying to make it. But for some strange reason, your heart has been receptive to receive the spirit of the loving God. And pain and suffering about others is nothing but the devil on them, on their back, and it doesn't matter whether they know it or not. The devil is on them. And you got the responsibility because of the love of God for them. They ain't nothing but darkness. They need a light to shine and open their eyes up so they can begin to see. So you go in there because you care and they kill you, baby. There ain't no heaven anywhere that's too much for you. But between there, here and that, then I'm sure in my belief that if you continue to exist, you go where you deserve to go based upon the kind of life you live, based upon what you have learned. Then you deserve to be in that kind of atmosphere where that stuff is mature. You get a chance to experience that stuff, but hell still goes on, and you get a chance to grow or not. You get a chance to go to that fantastic heaven if you choose to. It's always open for you. It's always all you gotta do is love like that. And I ain't talking about committing suicide like people can. Your spouse or your significant other turn their back on you. You go commit suicide. You got to go out there and show some love and make somebody else kill you because you got too much love. Well, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'll end it there. Understanding that the only reason we experience the things that we experience here today is because we are living a fake life. We are living a fake life. There are people who say all these wonderful good things. They utilize their knowledge of the law. I know I said I'd be through. They utilize their knowledge of the law to substantiate their efforts, and at the same time justify them not going any further than this, as if they hope that this works. And if it doesn't really work, it might get some steps forward, and we'll accept that. And then we'll wait on time to come, and then maybe later on we'll make a few more steps. That's crazy, but that's the way you walk when you don't know any better. That's why it takes people who know God to represent God. And somebody said, well, if it takes people to know God and God did something for you, so you can be out here doing what you do, why hasn't God put many, many, many more people out here just like you, scattered everywhere, that's doing the same thing? And I'll stop you and tell you that's being done. The problem is not the people. We, the people that God has revealed himself to. It's the people that we go before, like me coming before you. I've been here for 40 years. I've been telling you this here story for 40 years, all across this country. And most of you never even heard of me. Most of you have never even heard of what I've been talking about. And now that you hear it, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean a hill of beans. It's just another thing for you to say, I know that. But God knows also that you cannot have an excuse by saying you didn't hear it, because God has grabbed one, straightened them up, and got me sitting right here and telling you what you would benefit from if you knew. Well, until next time, Eddie Marcus, say goodbye for now.